All right, here we go.
Well, since my baby left me, don't know the past years better. Elvis, directed by Love Buzzman, and I must say I was excited for this movie because I love biopics. I love biopics about musicians. Those are some of my favorite movies. And when I heard about Elvis, I was just and I heard Austin Butler was playing. It's I loved Austin Butler in Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And so I was excited to see him, as the trailer looked great. I was really hyped to get Tom Hanks as his manager. This movie is told in the story, from the manager's eyes, from his point of view, which at times can be interesting, but I think at times also is very distracting and where I think some of the bad choices were made from this movie, because the performances is great. I'm gonna say Austin Butler does a really, really great performance as Elvis. The way he moves, the way he acts is sometimes identical, but I think the problem is the movie doesn't really give him those many times to shine really as Elvis. It's because Elvis is kind of in this movie the secondary character, supporting character, and Tom Hanks is the main character. It's because everything is said and seen through Tom Hanks' character, to the manager's character. Him monologuing and talking, him telling us the story, which I feel that was kind of a big mistake they made in this movie. I really wish we would have seen the movie, from Elvis's point of view, from his point of view, from him, and not from the manager's point of view. Because it kind of does the thing that some biopics do. It's they have somebody else that was close to the main person, tell him the story. I feel that's not a good way to tell the story, because I feel a lot of problems. Fortunately, this movie, I had quite a few problems with this movie. As first of all, the editing of this movie. The editing is at times so bad and so messy that it really, you don't know what's going on. There's also these weird dream sequences that this manager has when he's old in a casino that doesn't fit at all and have nothing to do with the story. And I feel the way the story was told was in a very messy, convoluted way. Especially the first act of this movie, the first half of the movie is very messy and rushes through a lot of Elvis's history, which I think was kind of the history that was very interesting. I would love to see and get to know more about. But they kind of speed through past it in a quick little montage about, oh yeah, this is Elvis, this happens, da 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 da, boom, and then we get to Elvis when he's already famous, and kind of the Elvis that he has to reinvent himself, which I kind of feel whoa, we barely got to know him when he was young, and we already passed a big gap of his life that, which I feel was kind of a weird way of storytelling in this movie. I feel that you can really tell they want to focus more on his later years in his life and not his younger years in his life, which I kind of feel was a bad choice, because we never really get to know Elvis in this movie. Everything in this movie, you can watch any other Elvis documentary and you will find out the exactly same thing as in this movie. I don't need to spoil anything, because everything is exactly the same like you would watch an Elvis documentary. This what I also was also kind of down part, because we don't find anything new about Elvis. We don't know anything about what made Elvis Elvis, why, when he started singing, why he started singing. They kind of hint at it at the beginning when we see him as a child, but that's a quick 1 minute scene where I feel they never give the audience time to breathe. They just show, okay, here's this, okay, skip forward, okay, here was this, okay, skip forward, okay, this happens, this skip happens, this so on. It's a lot of these moments. It's not until the second half of the movie where the movie slows down, let scenes actually breathe, and let sequences play out, and not just have quick montages to skip through a bunch of Elvis's history. It's the same when he meets Priscilla, his wife. It's just a quick little scene that they have when he's in Germany in the army, and that's it. Because I feel a lot of time the movie and the story and the people behind it's well, you know Elvis' story, so we don't need to show things. Yeah, here's just the main story bullet points that we want to show of Elvis. But I feel that's not great storytelling, and it's very disappointing because like I said, Austin Butler is great, Tom Hanks is also good in the movie, but I feel like it's like I said, it's too much focus on Tom Hanks and his character and his point of view and not Elvis's character, which I really wanted. Like, I mean, the movie's called Elvis. I want to know about Elvis, what made him, like I want to know when did he start picking up the guitar, when did he started singing, what got him into singing, when did he recorded his first record, what got him to record his first record, and what was the first thing that kind of made him boom. They kind of just like skip past that, and it just shows, oh yeah, he made this record, and oh yeah, he's white, so let's hire him, basically is the logic that they use in this movie. But I feel like this movie could have been so much better, would make me mad, because there's a great sequence though. Like I said, the first half of this movie is really messy, convoluted. Also like the relationship that he has with B.B. King is also like, it's there, but it's so short and so like quick. It's like this movie just wants to hit those bullet points because it know that that's actually what happened, but they don't build anything really throughout it, or it's cut and edited so quick and fast that it just speeds past. It doesn't let the moment in the movie breathe. But there are aspects that I do like of the movie, like the second half, once Elvis, you know, performs at the Intercontinental Hotel, and those performances and those sequences, those are actually really great. That's when the movie actually starts being a great, and let's, you know, like I said, let sequences breathe, let moments breathe. We get to find out more about Elvis. That's actually the only time we get to see Elvis kind of like showing how he makes music, which I feel like that's the only scene we get about Elvis, how he makes music, which I feel like this is Elvis, one of the most famous entertainers, rock and rolls players of all time, you know. So I feel like that was such an important part, which I kind of feel like they skipped through, and like they don't actually go into it, how he makes music, how he creates music. Does he just do covers? Because actually the only thing that this movie tells me, that Elvis does nothing original. Everything he did, he just cover from black people, and the only reason he got successful is because he's white. This is what the movie tells me. We never know, and it does show that Elvis grew up in a black neighborhood, and that's, yes, but they never fulfill that story. Like, we never get to see him pick up the guitar, learn to play, learn to sing, get that first, you know, record going. We never see him in the record booth, just like for a quick 1 minute scene. Not even, well, for a quick 20-second scene, we see him in the booth, and then it cuts to something else. Like, we never see Elvis record his records. We never get to see also like the songs that we see him perform. Like, we get to see the TV special, of course. We do get to see, like I said, in the Continental Hotel, and we do get some songs like Hey Little Mama, Unchained Melody, Suspicious Minds, but like all the most famous Elvis songs are just in a quick montage, which I feel like I would love to see him, how he first recorded Jailhouse Rock, Blue Suede Shoes, you know, Can't Help Falling in Love. It's just a quick scene we get of him playing on the piano. Like this, the way they told this story in this movie was very messy and very bad, and it's the biggest down point of the movie. The performances are great, like I said. The first half, which at my point was so interesting, like it was really all those things that I wanted to know about Elvis. They just speed through and just show us everything we already know. Like that, it's just basically repeating everything every documentary ever said about Elvis. Like I said, Austin Butler's great as Elvis. He's great. But also like the relationship that he has with Priscilla. The movie basically just shows you what you already know. It doesn't show you anything really new. It doesn't show you anything different, what we haven't seen, which are this type of things I want to see in those biopics. Like, show us new stuff that we, the audience, didn't really know. Like, I don't know, just like the random stuff, like why Elvis loved peanut butter and banana and ham and bacon sandwich. Like, I don't know, it's just random stuff we don't really get to see. Now, we do get a fun sequence with him playing Trouble. Like I said, the movie skips to his younger years, the years that really made Elvis, like, you know, this interesting character, and got him to this point where Elvis has to reinvent himself, what I feel like could have been a good halfway point throughout the movie, because the movie's 2.5 hours long. Even though this movie's this long, they still like couldn't tell his lifetime, which I mean, Elvis he died at 42 years old. That's not a long lifetime. So you could have easily, I would have felt like what they should have done is like have like first act of the movie be about his younger years and how he started playing until he got his first record and a little bit of fame. Then the second act should have been about, you know, him being famous, but him have to reinvent himself. And the third act should have been about him in his later years. And you would have a constructive story and not something sometimes speed past. And sometimes we get these weird camera angles that, like, they're really trying to be like some fancy camera angles, but are just unnecessary and don't add to the movie nothing. It just confuses the audience, I would say. This, like, I was really kind of disappointed about it. Maybe by seeing it the second time, like, you definitely see this, you have to see this movie multiple times, because sometimes they throw so much information at you at once that I didn't know what was going on. And it was kind of, like I said, and it kind of doesn't, this movie doesn't let Austin Butler really shine except for a few moments in this movie. And I really would love to see his perspective view, Elvis, not some narration telling us the story again, because then we only get to see that one perspective that actually is not that interesting. I mean, and the way Tom Hanks give a good performance, but like, I want to know about Elvis. I mean, the first time we get Elvis, when he gets his first performance, and that's a cool moment when he, you know, the first time he does the wiggle, and the first time he knows that this kid is actually can be a global megastar. And we do get diving more in the relationships between him and his manager, but it's like, it's sometimes there, sometimes they just kind of forget about it. The same with, you know, Elvis's mother passing, and it's just done so quick and so abruptly that it's like, there's no build up to it. It's the same, like, this movie doesn't build up much to points, like it just speeds past them and just to focus at certain points, and then okay, we have this and this and this. Like I said, I really wish this, like I said, the editing is really bad in this movie. The way they tell the story is really bad. We don't know anything new, nothing fun about Elvis. They really should have made this from Elvis' point of view and more about Elvis and less about his manager, because that's like the biggest point, like this change of history. Like, now the director said there's a 4-hour cut, and it actually does feel like, because you can really tell like they cut out a lot of stuff in this movie. I really think they should have made like a longer movie or a 2-part movie, because if there's so much stuff they wanted to tell but they cut it down, it really tells a massive story. You can really tell there are chunks cut out of the movie that really could have helped this story better. But I'm gonna give this movie a 5 out of 10. Elvis, let me know what you think of the movie. Did you like it? Did you didn't like it? Austin Butler was really great in this movie. Like I said, Austin Butler is the best part of the movie. He does a really amazing performance as Elvis. Tom Hanks is great as his manager. Everybody else is also good. But like I said, they just hit the bullet points that every documentary always tells you. It's the stuff we already know. We don't find out anything new about Elvis. We don't get to see him in a recording studio. We don't get to see him create music except for one quick time. And I feel like this is the story about one of the biggest musicians, you know, music entertainers ever. We don't get to see him in the recording studio, how he records song. We don't get to see him write songs, come up with songs. All we get to see him is copy songs from black people. And I feel like that kind of shines Elvis in a bad way. But if that really was the way he was, then okay, but they really don't really go into those interesting aspects. Like, I feel like the most interesting aspects of this movie, they just shine through, and the stuff that are not that interesting, they really focus a lot, which they should have done the other way around. Like I said, but thanks everybody for watching, and as always, see you next time. Thank you very much.